friends, Jerry Rosa here in the Rosa String Works Man Cave. And progress has been made. I've got a nice little video for you to show you around, and another little show and tell item. But first, did you see the recent video, I guess yesterday's video, on Itchy Boots up in the mountains, riding that motorcycle on those mountain paths? It looks scary to me. Those roads, oh my gosh, they just look like they're ready to collapse, and the boulders look like they're ready to fall on you at any second. She's a lot braver than I am. I don't think I could be riding those roads like that. She seems, of course, I think it's her camera, that wide angle camera makes it look worse than I think it even is. But it always looks like she's just about 5 inches away from falling over the edge to me. But then again, I'm scared of heights. In other news, I have a link to a video that some of you may find very helpful or very interesting. I just happened upon it. Apparently this year there is going to be a mass exit of Medicare Advantage. In other words, most of the insurance companies are changing the way the Medicare Advantage plan is going to work. And of course, each company has a different plan, of course, but my point is that apparently a lot of companies are either exiting the Advantage plan altogether, or they're changing it significantly, and et cetera, et cetera. The point is, there's a video link in the description, and if you are involved with Medicare Advantage plans, I would highly encourage you to watch it. It's a very complicated subject, but this guy explains it about as well as I guess it can be explained. So I would definitely take a look at that video if you think it might affect you. And if you're on one of those plans, it probably will affect you this year. I think it's going to affect us. Sounds like it. Just in terms of show and tell, here's something I wanted to show you. This target, it looks like a really large target, but that red dot in the center, or where there used to be a red dot in the center, that is the size of a dime. So that hole is smaller than a dime, and 12 air rifle pellets went through that hole at 25 yards, so 75 feet away. That new air rifle I've got, I just got a new scope for it. And I was using an old muzzleloader scope on it all this time, and that was good, but I just didn't like the scope. I couldn't see through it clear enough. You had to have your eye at a certain distance from it, and if your eye wasn't exactly at that distance, you just couldn't see through the scope very well. So anyway, I just bought a cheap online scope. It was like $50. And as scopes go, that's pretty cheap. But boy, it seems to really be excellent in terms of accuracy. And I was sighting it in, I guess it was Saturday or Friday evening, I guess it was. And anyway, that's 12 pellets through the same hole. And like I said, a dime would cover that complete hole. So pretty cool. Those air rifles, they've improved them so much. It's called a PCP air rifle, and anyway, it has a pressurized tank. You actually use an air compressor to pressurize the tank up to 4,000 psi. It was just as nuts if you think about that, because your car tire is like 30 some psi, and it'll hold up your car, So can you imagine 4,000 psi, how much pressure that is? It's just amazing. It seems scary to me, really. It just seems crazy scary. Well, I have good news to report on the water wheelhouse, and I have about a 10-minute long video here for you, so take a look at this. My friends, you can probably tell it's nearly dark. You can hear the crickets and all kinds of little critters. Well, you can probably tell it's finished. I am so tickled to have that roof done. That really sets off the building now. It's starting to look like something. So hopefully tomorrow I'll start on the trim work. I got to put trim around here, some more up those little batten pieces, the little thin batten strips. But I also need a border there to separate where the first and second floor are. And then of course I've got to add all that up there. Got to have windows, got to put another door in. So it's a lot of work yet, but the really hard work is done. That roof was no fun at all. It's not that big, but it's roughly 300 square feet. So that's like 10 by 30 if you think of it like that. And it's in a very precarious place. 16, 18 feet off the ground, So anyway, it was tough. It really was tough. Even if I was 10 years younger, it still would have been really tough. Somebody complained about the door, but this door is going to look great. The windows kind of match this frame. And, we're going to antique all that and make it look old. It's going to look really good when it's done. And I wanted good solid doors because doors they make or break a building, really. If you got crummy doors, that let all kinds of bugs in and everything else, you got problems. This is going to be more or less airtight when we're done with it. And we might potentially rent it out for primitive camping if I could just figure out what to do about the sewer, a Johnny on the spot type thing or some kind of an outhouse, but there's no place to put anything like that in this area that would look halfway decent. So I don't know, probably not going to be able to do that. But yeah, I've got quite a bit more work to do. So, but at least I don't have to get up there anymore, or at least not for a long time. I'll probably put a gutter board on this too. We're not going to actually put gutters on it, I don't think. Although it's possible, I guess. But I'd have to find some kind of old-timey looking gutter or make them out of wood. I could make them out of wood kind of like I made this. So maybe I would do that with some kind of gutter thing. Well, I got the first window installed. And you can see now why I wanted this kind of door. It matches those windows. And we'll paint them brown or something and they'll be just fine. It's going to be really good when it's all finished. A lot more work to do. Well, my friends, we've got a nice view of the water wheelhouse from here. And I just wanted to point out before we go a little closer to the water wheelhouse that even though there hasn't rained in a long time and the water wheel's turning very slowly, you can still see there's still water coming out of the pond, which all that is to say that must mean we don't have any leaks in the pond. Otherwise, that little trickle of water that's coming in wouldn't be trickling out over here. And it's pretty much the same amount of water that's coming in is what's going out. So it's pretty cool. But there you go. We're starting to get closer to the finalization, I guess you'd say, of the water wheelhouse. We're getting closer. I've still got a lot of work to do, but I still have one window to put in. All the other windows and doors are in. So let's take a little closer look. And on the way, we'll look at Sue's grass that's starting to grow here on the pond bank. She planted this and it's starting to come up. Although we haven't had much rain, she's been watering it because there's just been no rain. We had a lot of rain this whole year. This is one of our best summers ever. But the last
I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks, we've had pretty much zero rain. We've had a sprinkle here and there, but it wasn't even enough to dampen the ground, you know. But everything's really good except for this dang moss. If we could figure out a way to get rid of that stuff. So here's what it looks like from this end now. Still got trim to do yet. Gutter boards type things, stuff like that. And of course we got paint. This door is going to have to be painted, you know, to kind of match. And I think we're going to stain the whole water wheelhouse. I think we're going to stain it the color of the what we did with our trailers. We like the look of that, the color of that. And it'll also help protect it from UV rays and things. So, and then you can see, I've shown this before, but Sue's rocks are in there nice, and everything's starting to come around, you know, it's really starting to work out. I need to make some sort of a handrail probably yet. And you can see the water that's flowing. It's not a lot. And once we get this door, you know, stained and painted to match, it's going to look really nice, I think. You know, that's the reason I chose that door, is because we had these little windows, and these windows were economical, and they seem to be in the right proportion for the house, you know, and that's why we chose what we did. But it's really starting to come around. I'm starting to get pretty proud of it now. And like I said, all it's for is really, the purpose is your first impression when you drive through the gates here. So when you come through these pillars, first thing you see is the water wheelhouse. And I think that's really cool. And it should have been there all along. There should have always been a water wheel here, with this spring being up high on the hill and the water coming down into the pond. There should have always been a water wheel here. So now there is. But got to finish off this up here. Sue said she'd like to see it just put plexiglass or something, but I don't know. That doesn't look that great to me. I think it'd be better just to finish it off as a mill house and make it look like a mill house, because that's kind of what we're dealing with here. And I think that would look better overall. I'm pretty tickled with it. It's going to even look better as we go on for the next couple of weeks now. I figure it's probably going to take me another couple weeks to tidy it all up and finish it, I hope. That's assuming we have decent weather and not too many other things break around here. So I'll walk you over and show you the stain that we've got in mind. I think we used the same stain color on all 3 trailers, but all 3 of them turned out a little different, but they're all 3 okay, you know. And so I'm assuming that the stain on this cedar will turn out totally different, but I still think it'll be neat, nice. So let me show you. This metal building is 42 by 72. For the new people, we built this, or Sue and I built it. And my brother, Steve, came over and did the roof on it, but we built the rest of it. He put the tin on the roof, I should say. And JR helped too. He was pretty little at the time. So here's one of this is the stain, the color on one of them. I'm not too impressed with this one. This one's the least one. I like it the least. And that might have been a different color. I told her to get a certain color, and I think she might have done that one first. I'm not really sure. But I think these 2 were done with the same color. And you can see this one got a little darker, and this one's a little lighter. And I like this lighter color, really. If it got this dark or somewhere in between, I'd be okay with it. But I just think it'll be better overall to have some sort of a finish on it. That little rudbud's getting really big. I planted that there when it was a little tiny twig. Same way with that one. Pretty amazing how fast things grow. Walnut, cedar, and another walnut, I think. Lots of walnut trees on this farm, just lots of them. The old timers claim that walnut gave you the best shade. In other words, they said that it's always cooler under a walnut tree than it is under other trees. Now, whether that's true or not, I have no idea. Really happy to have it all done. I took the scaffolding down, as you can tell. When I took the scaffolding down, I had an accident and a nail went through my arm right there. It was on a lever. The scaffolding fell one way and the back end of the scaffolding came up and it stuck me in the arm right there. And it hurt a lot. It stuck in pretty far. But it's not given me any more trouble since then. I put betadine and some, I don't know, neosporin type antibiotics on it. And I don't notice any pain or anything in it now, so I think it's fine. Well, I think that's going to be it for this morning's video. I hope you all are as happy about getting this thing underway as I am. I'm sure glad I'm off a dead center because I had so many things break over the last several months. I couldn't find time to work on it. I'm not exactly what you call a procrastinator. I will get to every job I start. I'll get back to it eventually. There's just a lot of times there's so much more that comes up in between. That's my biggest problem. See you on the vlog.
Yeah, there's no point in bugging me every 6 months. I'll get to it eventually. Oh, I am so relieved to get that roof done. I'm telling you, you have no idea. That was one hard thing to do. Shingles, I knew that was going to be a big job. I don't think it was any bigger than I expected. I really felt like I knew what I was getting into, and I got into all of it. I mean, like, I'm just glad it wasn't any worse than it was. That was hard. I mean, you got to go cut the trees down first and get those blocks, turned into shingles. Then you got to dry them, and then you got to put them up. And you're putting up, like on a conventional roof, you're putting up a 3-foot long shingle at a time. You're covering a fairly large amount of roof in one shingle. Well, with these shingles, you're covering 6 inches, and it takes a lot of them, a lot of work, a lot of work. So I'm glad I'm done with the shingle thing for a while. Also, on the old arm thing here, the way that happened was, I was inside, if you remember, I had the scaffolding built through the window, going up like this, holding the plank above here. Well, this board going up, this angle was a 2x4, and it had nails in the bottom of it. And then there up here, that the plank was sitting on, this was a 2x6, so it's much heavier. So I knocked the 2x6 loose. I knocked the 2x4 loose, and there was so much weight on it, it just flipped. And when that flipped, that 2x4 nail went right in there, man. I mean, you talk about hurt. Oh my gosh, did that hurt? It just happened so fast, But I do have very quick reflexes, and trust me, by the time it stuck in, I was already out. I jerked it out of there. Yeah, that's all you need is a good rusty nail, going all the way in your arm. When was my last tetanus shot? I don't know. They always ask me that when I'm at the hospital. When was your last tetanus shot? I don't know. Let's see. Eddie Turner was the first one in this today. And he says, good afternoon. Rod Wentler says, happy Labor Day, Jerry and gang. Yeah, I guess it is Labor Day today, isn't it? I didn't even, I don't pay attention to that kind of thing anymore. I hardly ever look at a calendar. So I wonder, are the stores open today? I guess they probably are, because I was gonna go into Menards this afternoon and pick up that last window. As it turned out, that last window that's missing there on the front of the building, right by the door, I made that one a different size for some reason. I don't know if I did that on purpose. It was, it's probably a year ago now when I built that, or maybe a little longer than that. Anyway, I just don't remember why I made that one bigger, but that one's 2 foot wide. With the other ones, those other windows are 22 inches, and then when you put a double window, they're 44 inches. Well, this particular opening is, I think it's 25 inches is the opening, or maybe 26. I'm not really sure. But anyway, I'll have to, if I put a 22-inch window in there, I'm going to have to really shrink that opening down. So I'm hoping I can go to Menards and find me a 24-inch wide window. I'm not sure why I made that one bigger, but I sure did for some reason. I don't remember my thought process at the time, but I don't think I did it by accident. It was too big. If it had only been a half-inch too big or something, that would have been by accident. But it's several inches bigger. So I don't know. I must have did it on for a reason. Let's see. David Tharp says, the Lord is faithful in all his words and gracious in all his deeds. There is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. Yes. Let's see. Gino Hitch. Hi, Jerry and friends. Had a great weekend. Hope you did too. Yeah, I got a lot accomplished, and I got all those doors and windows hung and stuff. I don't know. I didn't start on the actual trim part yet. I'm hoping to get that all done in the next few days. Bill Rhodes, good afternoon. And let's see, Don Nice, good afternoon, and have a great Labor Day today. Yeah. Let's see. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, did you put out any videos over the weekend? Well, yeah, I put that one out Friday evening for the guitar. This part 2 of the guitar was put out Friday evening. Don Nice, a beautiful afternoon at 72 degrees, a perfect day to do painting, which is the worst job for me to do. Yeah, I don't really mind painting too much. That doesn't bother me too much. I know a lot of people just hate it. I like to paint with a brush. I'm not a big roller person, paint with a roller. I mean, I do that. I especially on big open walls, I'll do that. But for the most part, I just soon paint with a brush on anything. I don't know. I'm fast at it with a brush. I don't know. It's a little different than your average. Most people just don't want to mess with a brush. But to me, I just soon use a brush as anything. Ronald Todd, I don't see anything on Advantage Plans. Well, you might have to refresh your screen because I put it out there after I put the video, the notice for this video. I put it out there and then I edited it and added that in there. So you might have to refresh your screen, that arrow thing that circles up there, you click on that and that should refresh it. Bill Webb, good afternoon, Jerry and friends. Sidecar Bob, hi from Kawarthas. Between errands and appointment last week, I had to watch 4 shows later in the day. I made it today, but I might need a pass for tomorrow. Well, okay. Let's see. Brad Tomatik, haven't seen that name for a while, says, it's been a while since I made it to a live log. Retirement has been keeping me busy, but not as busy as Jerry, thankfully. Well, I have to say I'm pretty busy all the time. There's very little downtime. Bruce Ducker, the water wheelhouse has turned out great, even at this stage. Yeah, I'm really happy with it now. Eddie Turner, great looking water wheel house. Sidecar Bob, it would look nice if you shingle the gables. Yeah, except the shingles are a pain in the neck. I have to cover the gable with wood anyway so that I have something to nail the shingles to. So after I put the boards up and if I'm not happy with the way that looks, well, I might give it a coat of shingles. You just never know. But right now I'm planning to just extend the siding that is on the rest of the building straight up. Is what my plan is at the moment. David Thorpe, people are usually shocked when they find out I'm a lousy electrician. You must be Bob's brother. Let's see. Raul Todd, the water wheel house is turning out very nicely. I think the wood stain will look great. Yeah, I think it's going to improve it. I actually think it's going to make it look even better. In fact, that's another thing. When I go to Menards this afternoon, I'm planning to look for one of those electric sprayers, handheld sprayers. We used to have one years ago, but back then they weren't very good. I mean, like years and years ago, one of the early adopters, if you will. And when they first came out, they weren't very good. But nowadays, they seem to be pretty good. So I'm thinking of giving one of those a try and spraying the building with that stain and then maybe touching it with a brush, just to get it into all the nooks and crannies type thing. But applying it, I think, with that sprayer would make it go on nice and even and make the job much faster, too, is what I'm expecting. Let's see here. It scrolled on me. And Ben Swanson says, thank you for another look at your property, the water wheel house, and your entire place looks beautiful. Thank you. We've had quite a few people staying over the weekend. Well, we had one family with a couple little kids that were here all weekend. They were really happy with being here. In fact, the little boy, when they left this morning, he's 10 years old. He was crying. He had tears in his eyes. He was saying, I don't want to go. I like it here. I want to stay. That kind of thing. We had a couple other couples that just stayed one night each in the apartment. The family was up in the bigger rental. Let's see, Don Nice, Jerry, congratulations on the water wheel house. Now the weather don't matter. Yeah, I'm real happy about that, to get it out of the weather kind of thing, where everything's closed in. David Tharp, if you see a road sign that says survey crew ahead, they are not actually interested in your opinion. I know that now. How do you think of these things, or where do you come up with this stuff at? Sidecar Bob, when you talk about everything that went into building the water wheel house, it reminds me of that old recipe for rabbit stew that begins, first you have to catch a wabbit. Yeah. Well, when you think about that kind of building, I mean, like building that little house, if I'd have bought store-bought lumber, I could have done that in 2 or 3 days. I mean, if I had all the lumber there and ready to go, I could have built that in 3 or 4 days. It wouldn't have been no problem at all. 3 or 4 days, I'd have been done. But when you got to go cut the trees down, saw the lumber up, and deal with all the mess on top of that, and, then dry the lumber and, then build it and then construct it on top of that, because was constructed in a tough spot. Like if you're just building that out on flat level ground, no big deal at all. You'd have it done in no time. But in that spot where it's at, you got water on 2 sides and a steep drop off on the one water side, and then you got that bank right against you there. It wasn't simple. It just wasn't easy. And nothing's flat and level either. I mean, just that little tiny square that the thing is sitting on is flat and level, but the rest of it's not. Let's see, Bruce Ducker. I would venture to guess that a majority of your viewers are retired, so Labor Day is just another day without mail. Yeah, that's right. GNP Old Marine Shop. Hi, Jerry. What did you use for water wheel? Are they from Old Wagon? Well, the steel, the iron axe, the iron center part of that was an old manure spreader, I believe. They usually had steel wheels, and they had cleats on the wheels. I had to knock all the cleats off and just use the steel, and then I fastened all those buckets, cedar, eastern red cedar or juniper, whatever you want, however you prefer to call it. Anyway, I used all that to make the buckets. Bruce, and everything had to be just right. It's hard to explain what that means. Like, I had an exact amount of water height fall that I could deal with. I couldn't get any more out of it. Like it's at a fixed height, and I had to make everything fit within that height. And I wanted it as big as I could get it, but it had to fit on that water level height. And boy, I did a lot of engineering on all of that to get it just right, And in fact, some of you all helped me out on those buckets, on how big to make them so that they would work out and come fill the whole circumference, and yet not be too big, but big enough to make the thing have some power. I mean, it was just complicated. There was nothing simple about it at any point. It's been a project and a half. Let's see. Bruce Ducker, I painted my mother's kitchen with a brush. Talk about a pain. Lots of real estate. Okay. I don't mind painting with a brush. I'm really fast with a brush. I don't know why that is, but I am. I can paint a whole dang house, and have done it many times with just a brush. Back when I was, I don't know, after we were first married, didn't have any money, I was using, I would take on painting jobs to make extra money. And back then I was, it's probably real cheap now, but I was charging $0.25 per square foot. So in my mind, I was another quarter, I just made $1. I could keep track of it in my brain, how much money I was making just by the fact that I would just use a brush, and the people appreciated that, because I think you get a little better job with a brush than you do with some of the other methods. I think rolling it on a flat wall is fine, but when you got siding and stuff, rollers and things are not the best. And sprayers put on a light coat, for the most part, and they don't always get everywhere. So anyway, I don't know. I just always did like painting with a brush. It just works for me. Hugh O'Connor, water wheel house well done on almost finishing. Won't be too long now. Are you going to name it Jerry's Folly? Well, that don't sound too good. Bill Mumbo, congratulations to Andersons, who passed 1 million subscribers today. Folks, after 15 years. Congratulations to Andertons, who passed 1 million subscribers today. Okay, I don't know who those are, who Andertons is. Reno Lions, I'm not sure what you're saying there, so I'm going to pass on yours. Let's see. Bruce Ducker says, no cussing, please. Ben Boyd, I assume you noticed my earlier comment. No need to comment further if you did. I assume I didn't, or if I did, I thought I read everything, so I didn't see one. Ben Boyd. I'm going back through just looking to see if I see a Ben Boyd comment, and no, I don't see one. Not after we went live anyway. Let's see, is it before we went live? Nope, I do not see a comment from you, so sorry. like I said, I think there's times when this doesn't pull all the comments over. I just don't know when or why, but occasionally it doesn't pull a comment over. So I didn't see one, and I don't see one now. Bill Rhodes, Jerry, want to spray the whole fence. Will the pump up bug spray on? Jerry, I want to spray the whole fence. Will the pump up bug spray on? He goes on, what I was trying to say was I want spray a whole fence with a bug sprayer. Yeah, well, I thought about that too, but we don't have a, Sue's got these electric bug sprayer things now, or, backpack sprayers and stuff, and I'm not sure I want to deal with that for this stain, but I think one of those electric handheld sprayers would be great for the stain job, so I think I'm just going to get one of those. But I actually did think of that. If I had one of those old metal pump ones, the old metal canister style, if we had a good one of those, I'd probably use that for the stain. I think it would work great too. So I possibly might get one of those, but I think I'll just use the electric one because I think that electric one will be handy down the road anyway. Let's see. Bill Mumbo, water wheel looks fabulous. Thank you. Bill Road. Okay, let's see. I got that one. Don Nice, Jerry, glad to see you have your pink shirt and shoes on. How do you know I got shoes on? You must have been talking about the video. Sidecar Bob, I had a helper over the weekend, so we moved the one wall in the basement that I wanted to move. Progress at last. Well, good. Ben Boyd says, check your email, please. All right, I'll try to remember. I haven't looked at email in quite a few days, actually. GMP Old Marine Shop. Had a pro painter do my double car garage a few years back. He was so fast like you. I was shocked how fast he got done. Yeah, with a brush, if, again, I don't know. I don't mean to make it sound like I'm bragging, but I can cover a lot of area with a brush in a hurry. And Sue does it, but she's meticulous about it. She wipes all of her paint off before she gets it on the wall, and then she spreads and spreads and spreads and spreads. If you just get some paint on your brush and then just put it up there and then get some more paint on your brush and get it up, and you just keep doing that, it don't take long at all. But if you're real meticulous about it and keep spreading it this way, I mean, I'm not saying I'm sloppy. It's not sloppy. It turns out just fine, but you just got to keep after it, And I don't know, you just get in a rhythm and you can really cover some ground in a hurry with a brush if you know what you're doing. And you have a good brush. A good brush makes all the difference too. All right, let's see. The Puzzler says, Jerry, Christmas is coming up fast, and I told my 13-year-old nephew I would get him a guitar if he kept up his lessons. Well, his guitar teacher said he's doing good. I'd like to get him one of the guitars you're going to auction off, and the one with the bullseye looks cool. How can we set up a price for the guitar? Well, I don't know yet, but I'll try to keep that in mind and try to get something going on that before too long. I'm glad that that's the case. I'll try to include that. I'm going to try to do 5 or 6 in a video here real soon, and then probably just take email bids on them or something like that. I just got to get rid of this stuff. Got to get going. Got to get off dead center. David Tharp, hey Jerry, if you need rain, just let me know and I'll wash and wax my car. Yeah, well, we used to say we just throw a bluegrass festival. If you want rain, just make sure you have a bluegrass festival and you're guaranteed to get rain. It's like black and white. Bill Mumbo, Andertons are a music shop in England who I used to visit regularly till I retired. Really good channel and great range of beginner instruments. Cool. Yeah, so regarding the instruments up for auction, and if you already know of a particular one, just like in this case, he's talking about that bullseye guitar, if you know of one you are interested in, you want to shoot me a bid on it via email. Again, I'm not looking at email every day, so you might have to be patient, but you know what I'm saying. The point is, if you want to shoot me an email and you're the first one and your bid is the best one or whatever, you might end up getting it. I'm not going to just give them away. I'm going to try to sell them at a reasonable market value. I'm not trying to get the top dollar for them. I just want to get a reasonable amount for them so that I'm not ripping that poor widow off. You know, she needs to get, you know, be reimbursed or whatever you want to call it for the instruments, and she needs to get a fair value. Again, I'm not trying to sell them at the top dollar value, just a decent value. So just keep that in mind. If you make a reasonable offer, there's a good chance you'll end up with the guitar. So the thing to do is to go out and look around and see what reasonable offers would be. You know, do some Google searches and figure that out. Well, anyway, that's going to be about it, guys. Thank you so much for being here. I am one relieved puppy to get as far as I am on that doggone water wheel. I knew the day I started that, you know, whenever I started digging that the bank out and start laying up the rock and all of that and leveling out that pad and all the way back to then. And before even that, I had to change the whole bank of the pond. The pond, you know, I knew I needed to do work on the pond. So I actually did work on the pond first. So it's been a major, major project. I knew it was going to be one, and it hasn't disappointed. Y'all take care. We will see you back here tomorrow with something else.